HCMC has been going absolutely crazy from hype, misinformation, pumping and dumping. There's a lot going on here. So today we're going to discuss what we should be doing, what we should be looking at, and discussing how accurate some of this DD really is. And of course, we're going to talk about the sell-off of the shares. Now, I'm not going to give you any biased opinion here. I'm pretty neutral about HCMC. I'm not very bullish about it, but I'm just going to tell you that up front so you aren't misguided or anything. I just have been in a lot of these types of stocks with a lot of hype around them, and they usually don't end up well. Now, once again, I'm not going to be saying if I'm going to buy or sell this. I actually do have a position of it, but it is so small. It's like money I would be willing to blow is basically all I'm going to say to this. But let's start with the good. Okay, the good is this thing has come down very hard. There's a big mob behind this stock, a big mob. It's like the equivalent of a Wall Street bets mob just for this penny stock, which is really easy to move. So the thing I like about this is we are in a settlement area and we're at a pretty good line of support right here. I think this is where it's going to hover at for at least a little while. But ultimately, I want to remind you guys that this thing is currently sitting at 0.001, and people are saying that it's going to get up to 10 cents, $1, stuff like that. But think of it in the terms of market cap here. We're at a $340 million market cap. If it goes to 0.002 times that market cap by 2, now do that all the way to 10 cents, and you're in the billions here for a company that has made about 13 million. So if you aren't playing this for the lawsuit, then you're definitely going to have a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth once you come back to reality. But as for the explosion through the lawsuit, this matters a lot about what happens with the lawsuit. I'm not going to go over that because it's just going to be a bunch of BS talking back and forth for the next few months. You're going to see a lot of videos on HCMC about the lawsuit every time someone breathes. But quite honestly, there's nothing that's going to matter until they actually have a first hearing. Right now, they're in just a period where they're talking back and forth with each other, getting the plan right, and then they will start the proceeding. I doubt that we see a settlement from PM. They have a great team of lawsuit professionals in this field that they deal with a lot of lawsuits, let me tell you, on the same exact product. So this thing's going to go to the end. Regardless of who wins, I think this thing is going to go to the end, and it's going to take months. So I could see this thing just sitting here, maybe trending a little bit down. But if they do win, the highest I see it going is 0.002. That's my honest price prediction for this. And that comes with a few things. It first comes out with what the average settlement usually is for a case like this. Second is market cap compared to the settlement. Plus, if they get a royalty, that's when I could see this thing going a little bit higher, like an actual licensing deal, but that is so far-fetched out there. So now let's go into the shares. This is something that really frightens me just to think of. So they all had to report, obviously, at the end of March, and you guys could see here, these are all dispositions. So what that means, a disposition is the act of selling or otherwise disposing of an asset or security. And look how many shares were sold by directors and officers over the course of March, or whenever they actually did it. I don't know what the reporting dates are. It could have been from the 12th to March. I don't know what it is, but it's very possible that we saw that because after the 12th, we could have seen a lot of directors selling over here because they knew that this thing was overvalued. Usually sales don't really get with me because I don't really care if a company's being sold by the officers, but this amount of shares by this many officers and directors, which by the way is all of the officers, they sold a massive amount of shares, and this insider selling has me a little bit worried. The shares traded are actually right here. So if you look at it in proportion to what their portfolio used to be, there is a massive amount of shares that were sold, especially from Jeffrey Holman, which is someone that everyone is trying to respect here. But my problem with this is they are selling when everyone else says that they are buying. So I have to say, I trust all the officers and directors of the company a little bit more than the guys on Reddit. At least that's my current belief at the moment. I just think the CEO of the company dropping a astounding amount of shares compared to his total value. Now, he still holds a lot of shares, don't get me wrong, but that is a big dump right there. And it follows the same trend with everyone dumping a large amount of shares and getting their payday. But this does not necessarily mean that this thing's going to go down, because they could have sold anywhere from here to here to here. They could have sold anywhere up here, and maybe down here they're actually buying. You don't know because they don't report it until their reporting date, so we don't really have anything to go off of until then. But this is a red, like a big red waving race flag. So now let's do a hype meter, see what's going on, because this is my best way of judging penny stocks. How hype are the stocks? The thing I really like about this is everyone that's into this stock right now, like really into this stock, it's a big community, by the way, a massive community. They are buying vitamins. They are buying everything from HCMC right now, their actual stores, their online stores specifically. So that's a great catalyst because these sales could really go up. As this user said, I expect revenues to quadruple earnings, blah, blah, blah. So let's say revenues quadruple earnings and over the entire year. So if that happens, if that occurs, we had 13,921,000. If we see a 4x from there, that would be $55 million in revenue, and their margins aren't very good. They've been selling off shares. They've been diluting shares, but at the current share price, I think that would be around a 7 times price to sales ratio and a negative price to earnings ratio. So it'd still be a little bit expensive even if they were to quadruple. Now, the second thing I like to consider with this whole theory is that online sales are going to be up a lot. And I think that's a big part of all these HCMC shareholders. They are pumping this thing in a lot of ways. I would say if they lose this lawsuit, people aren't going to be buying vitamins from this online store based out of, I think, Florida. So that's just my opinion on that. Now let's just keep going down. Let's see what the hype is. So the thing I want you guys to keep in mind whenever you're looking through threads like this is stuff like this: still holding, not selling, added some, added more, added more. A lot of people actually didn't add in these scenarios, and this board has really been slowing down. And I think that's a good reason why I think this stock has been selling and kind of stabilizing here, because we have a lot of buyers at the 10 range. But my problem here is the patience. How long will the shareholders stay patient while this lawsuit gets bloody and it takes a long time? I'd be a little skeptical. I personally do believe that PM is usually probably a little bit more secure. This was a tweet that they kind of directed at HCMC actually, which is pretty big, but they are explaining exactly what their product does. Roughly starts at 400 degrees, but nicotine is released long before temperature rise at roughly 247 degrees Celsius. This is why smoke-free products avoid combustion, fire, ash, or smoke, which is basically the entirety of the lawsuit. Issues I see is people like to believe in stuff like this guy that came through and just researched for, I really don't know, and these people saying that PM is dumb and scared and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if PM's the dumb one. They are a massive, massive corporation. HCMC is a company with a history of some fraudulent activity. And when I see stuff like this, where they're trying to compare boiling point, okay, 477 degrees Fahrenheit or 247 degrees Celsius, basically just repeating what PM says, but saying that HCMC is still right just because they said they're right. But that's just my 2 cents on that. Definitely a buying opportunity if you're long on this. I recommend you do due diligence. Don't watch YouTube videos. Don't look at Reddit comments. Find your own due diligence and make your decision based off of that instead of everyone else. But that's all. Have a great one. Bye-bye.